Edition of the Cream City crossover. Come on in the room. The Milwaukee Bucks are losers tonight, 120 to 113 in Chicago. We are live. It's the Cream City crossover, Milwaukee Bucks post-game show. Come on in the room. Again, a 120-113 loss to the Chicago Bulls. I'm the guru, Trey Crosby III.
JT.
Chris King.
Chris King is in the building. How
Chris
about it?
King is in the building.
Yes,
What's happening,
sir.
Chris King?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're loving it. We're live here talking about the Milwaukee Bucks loss to the Chicago Bulls, 120-113 in overtime. It was a fun one. I'll say that. It was definitely a fun one. It was a symbol of the Bucks season. This is what they've done all year long. If you are feel so inclined, please like, follow, subscribe on the Cream City Crossover YouTube. If you're following us on Twitter, same deal. You can at me at TCIIIESQ, or you can talk in the chat and YouTube about the loss, what you saw, what you liked, what you didn't like. Again, 120-113, the Chicago Bulls beat the Milwaukee Bucks. Let's go through some stats before we get to looking at the recap here. We'll start with the winning Chicago Bulls team. 29-10-6 from Vooch, who is our player of the game, Cruise crossover player of the game, is Nikola Vucevic. Alex Caruso at 11 points, 5 assists. Kobe White had a great game tonight, 23-7. Ayo Desonomu, 14, 6, and 6. Probably butchered his name. Patrick Williams with 12 points. Torrey Craig off the bench with 10. Javon Carter with 11. How about Andre Drummond, 10 points, 14 rebounds, 51 rebounds for the Chicago Bulls. The Bucks ended up with 43. Rebounding was an issue. The bench was also an issue for the Milwaukee Bucks tonight. Giannis, 26, 14, and 5 in 38 minutes. Ended up with a really nice stat line. Did not play a lot in the first half. And then Chris Middleton with 26 minutes goes 9 points, 3 boards, 3 assists. Not good enough in 26 minutes for Chris Middleton. 3 of 10 from the field. Malik Beasley had 19 points, 3 boards, 3 assists. Damian Lillard with 18 points, 13 assists. He did have 7 turnovers. And then Brook Lopez, 20 points, 4 rebounds. Marjan Beauchamp pitched in 7 points. Bobby Portis was horrible tonight. 4 points, 9 rebounds. He was 2 of 8 from the field. He just was not a good player. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it again. 120-113. If you're just now joining us on the Cream City crossover, go to Twitter and talk to us. Got a lot of your comments that will come in, and we'll talk about them in a second here. But JT, I'm watching this game, and I'm here. Let's start. So it starts off 11-2, and you're thinking, okay, here come the Bucks. This is what because I asked before the game, are we going to see a blowout tonight? That's what everybody was looking to see from the Milwaukee Bucks. They want to see a blowout because all these games come close. And we didn't get a blowout tonight. We thought maybe that was going to happen. Starts off 11-2. And then Billy Donovan calls a timeout. And once the timeout happens, the Chicago Bulls, like they finally started moving the ball around. They started to sink the defense in and kick out, started to hit some of the threes. Chicago finished the game from 3, 13 of 37, 35%, 13 made threes. The Bucks actually finished with 16 made threes. They were 33%. They came on late. But then as the game gets going, to me the word I use is sloppy. I thought the Bucks were a little bit lazy throughout the night. And what failed the Bucks tonight, and I know Chicago ends up with 120 points and they finished in overtime, but the Bucks defense for the large part outside of rebounding, I thought it was okay. I thought the Bucks defense for a large part was okay. And then I look at the bench minutes, minus 14 Bobby Portis, minus 8 Andre Jackson Jr., minus 20 Campaign. That was the tough part. But I thought the Bucks defense was decent tonight. I thought Chicago hit some tough shots. To me, it was the offense that didn't come to play. And, you saw Giannis, who in the first half, I think he had 4 points. He had 3 fouls in the first half. So he was limited in what he could do offensively in the first half. And then you look at Dame Lillard, who scores 1 point in the second half in overtime. As Damian Lillard carried the Bucks through the first half, and in the second half, it was like, my job's done. He was actively not looking for shots. I believe, and here's the thing. People continue to be like, for whatever reason, people blame Giannis for for the reason Dame is passive or some of the issues with Damian Lillard. I think the issue was, as it kind of always is to me, When Dame is not hitting shots, that's when he gets passive. And he was 7 for 10, I believe, in the first half, shooting 70%. Damian Lillard finished the game 7 of 16. So when he starts missing, and that's what I noticed again early in some of these games early throughout the season, that's when he gets passive. Again, this is a bad loss for the Milwaukee Bucks, 120-113. But you saw the clutch Bucks come back again. The fourth quarter began, and you're like, oh man, they might get ran off the floor because Chicago goes up 10, then they go up 12, and you're like, and it's like, man, this is not good. But then the Bucks came back, they rallied as they always do behind Giannis, behind Chris, behind Brook Lopez a lot as well. Because Dame passed the ball well, but he had 7 turnovers. He was sloppy with it. You saw them come back, and you think they're going to win this basketball game. They end up being up 3 at the end, and then Caruso hits a 3 over Brook Lopez. I thought it was a I thought it was a heave. And there's questions we could talk about whether or not the Bucks should have fouled. Now, what they should have done, I didn't realize. I believe they had a foul to give. So if they had a foul to give, they absolutely should have used that foul to give. I don't know if you foul up 3. If you want to, because again, I'll take my chances with an Alex Caruso 3 over an extended Brook Lopez arm every night of the week, twice on Sundays. I think Alex Caruso misses that 9 out of 10 times. So I was okay with that. My issues with the Bucks tonight, the effort. I think there were a lot of missed shots that took place. But you have to play these clutch games, and every now and again, you're going to lose some of them. You did lose this one, 113. We'll get to some of your comments in a second. But JT, what'd you see tonight?
Well, you know what? Look, I'm gonna be brief, right? Because we got Chris King in the building, and I definitely want to hear his analysis here. But look, you're right. This is a tale of 2 Bucks. The first half of basketball was incredibly uninspiring. I mean, these guys, and it wasn't so much about maybe they were tired, maybe they were sluggish. I mean, they were sluggish. Maybe they were tired. Maybe they were just fatigued. The season is a grind, right? We're about 20 games in at this point, so maybe you were seeing some of that. I mean, it was some of the most uninspired basketball that I've seen. I'm gonna just tell you some of these anomalies, right? So Brook Lopez, and he played 18 minutes in that first half. You know how many shots he took? 1. Brook Lopez took 1 shot in 18 minutes. That's interesting because Giannis didn't play much. Giannis only played 13. Brook Lopez took 1 shot in 18 minutes, right? So it was some uninspired basketball here. Chris Middleton in the first didn't look good at all. I mean, he was 3 for 6, right? And had 9 points, but Chris again overall just didn't look great. Malik Beasley didn't look great in that first half. I mean, 3 for 8. He had 8 points. Okay. Here's what kind of troubles me though. The Bucks are 27th in offensive rebounds per game, right? So damn near last. They had 1 offensive rebound in that first half. I mean, that's terrible. Conversely, the Bulls had, I believe it was 9. But having said that, the second half, look, this is a finishing team. That second half, I thought the second half, for the most part, was beautiful how this thing came together, especially in that fourth quarter, being down 12, taking this thing to the limit here. Yes, there was a late 3 by Caruso, but just looking at how guys stepped up. From Brook Lopez having 6 3-pointers between the second half and overtime alone. Malik Beasley hitting those key shots. I think Chris is going to get into that too. Giannis having 22 points in the second half. Dame, you're right. It kind of seemed like Dame was like, all right, look, I gave y'all what I had. I ain't got it right now. I'm just going to go ahead and, I'm going to let y'all handle this. And, he did. But the guys who stepped up and made plays to make that happen. Also, man, how about Giannis, that key block at the end of the at the end of that fourth quarter where you seeing, hey, okay, here we go. Defensive player of the year candidacy. We about to start that thing off eventually too with Giannis. I thought that was great too. But Chris, I'm going to go ahead and punt to you, man. I want to hear what you got to say.
Yeah, I think, just the Bucks comebacks are in these fourth quarters have been something this season that have worked for them, but today it didn't work. They came into this game 3 times being down double digits in the fourth quarter, and ultimately today it didn't work. I think they need to start limiting runs that teams go on late in the game, and then I also think that they've got to be able to step on next when they get leads, small leads, 2 points. They've got to be able to really assert their dominance like the team that we know they are. So that's a big part of, I think it just got to him just trying to play from behind too much, especially if Dame doesn't have it. He's the fourth quarter guy. It's Dame time, but tonight he didn't have it, especially in the second half, only had 1 point. So that's a big part, but I do like what I see down the stretch in terms of clutch Bucks. Like when you talk about the Malik Beasley stuff, the 3-pointer he had when they were down 7 with under 3 minutes to go, and then he takes one in transition. I mean, that was a ballsy shot by him, and he knocked it down, had the Bucks down 2, and then Brook obviously makes one in the corner. So some good things I see in those comebacks, but we don't want to be in that spot all the time.
No, you don't want to be in that spot all the time. And I'm shaking my head as I look at some of the comments, and it's just like, man, people melt down so much. Warren Price. So this, like I said, here's the thing, and everybody's you got to calm down. The Bucks lose tonight, 120-113 to the Chicago Bulls, but you have to keep things into perspective. You're not going to win every single game. And I see people talk Boston just dog walked this team. So I can say the same thing. The Milwaukee Bucks just dog walked the Charlotte Hornets, and then the Boston Celtics lost to them the other week. So again, you got to keep things into perspective. That's the nature of the NBA. But then to Warren Price, this team has no heart. I mean, what are we talking about here?
Yeah,
not being able to finish bottom-feeding teams, waiting to the fourth to play out a game. Why don't we play a complete game? That's a fine comment. But to say the team has no heart would be no heart would be teams I've seen of old from the Milwaukee Bucks, who, when they get down 12 points in the fourth quarter, it's just over. There's nothing more you can do. We're done. Pack it in, mail it up, let's go. This team fights all the time. So to say they have no heart, I just totally disagree with that. Titonia World says too many Chris minutes does us in. What is this 26-minute stuff? And then CCAM 303 says have to foul up 3. It's that simple. I don't think it is. And again, this, one of the and so let's stop right there. Let's talk about fouling up 3, Chris and JT. Hindsight's always 20/20. It's easy to say foul up 3 when you lose the game off of a 3 that sends it to overtime. But again, Caruso, more than likely he misses that shot, and so you're not saying that. And again, I mean, Bucks fans, if you realize this, Mike Budenholzer never fouled up 3. That was like a common philosophy of him, was not to foul up 3. Jason Kidd didn't foul up 3. I believe there may have been a couple times, but if I remember, Jason Kidd was not a fan of foul up 3. So you haven't seen the Bucks foul up 3 since at least like 2017. Like, that's just not a thing that they do. So, and they've been very successful without doing so. Again, as I said earlier, I think you definitely have to give, if there was a foul to give, which I think there was, you have to use that. But I mean, the foul up 3 again, that's I don't think that always is the case. Again, I don't mind doing it, and I guess that's where I'll stop at. I don't care what you do, just whatever your philosophy is, continue to do it. Now, and I'll say this too, if you're getting bombed from 3 and a team has come back on you, maybe that's when I decide to foul from 3. But at that point, if you remember, the Bucks were on a 10-0 run. Chicago couldn't score at all. So why would I foul? And again, the other thing about this, the last thing I say, the other thing about this team, we've talked about all the time, very low IQ basketball. This team is one of the dumbest teams in the NBA. I would not trust these guys to foul up 3 either. So that's when I think about fouling up 3, I think about a smart basketball team. I think about all those things. And when I look at the Bucks, I don't see that. I'd rather them play defense, just like Giannis. You said Giannis got that block on Patrick. I'd rather trust the athleticism and the Bucks playing defense and figuring out late and clutch games.
Well, so my thing is, listen, if you had a foul to give and you were going to foul, let's be clear here. You foul Alex Caruso, you don't let him get the shot off. If you were going to foul here, you get that foul in before he even gets the shot off, because you did have one to give. Folks saying, okay, foul him as he's shooting the 3. Yeah, so we sent him to the line and he has. I
don't think anybody was saying foul him as he's shooting the 3.
Right. But I guess my point though is that if you're going to foul him, you're fouling him before he gets that shot off. You're not going to send him to the line, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, hold on. Obviously, but when you foul,
I know it ain't obvious. Have you seen?
But what I'm saying, but nobody's saying. I think the question is, you're going to send him to the line if you don't have a foul. Now again, that's the question. If you have a foul to give, yes, there's a foul. You're going to side out. The question is then, are you fouling again? No, you're going to send him to the line to shoot 2 shots. That's what you would be doing. So that's the question. Not necessarily, if you're fouling, to just foul. But yeah, you're going to send him to the line.
Correct, right. But it's much better to send him to the line shooting 2 shots than to have him out there in 3-point land and send him to the line with 3. Here's the thing with Caruso this year, though. I don't know if you guys realize this. You realize he's shooting 46% from 3?
Sure.
Yeah, right. I mean, he's only taking like maybe 4 a game, so it's not that big of a deal. But, yeah, I mean, and listen, we've talked about the IQ. We've talked about situational basketball with this team. And some of that, I think, I don't really have an explanation for why you see, I don't want to call it low IQ basketball, but we don't really have an explanation for why we see some of the plays that we see here. And maybe that's something that you do have to put on the shoulders of Coach Griffin. But having said that, I agree with you that, listen, an outstretched Brook Caruso, that was a hell of a shot. That was a very, very, very tough shot. And 9 out of 10 times, I mean, I guess if you want to be technical, right? Maybe 4 out of 10 times that's going in with Caruso shooting it this year, right?
If he's shooting wide open, but he wasn't. There was Brook. No, that's what I mean. Yes, if he gets a wide open shot, yes, he's gonna hit it 4 out of 10 times, or slightly. That's a 7'2" Brook Lopez with an outstretched hand. No, He's not hitting that shot a ton of times.
I agree. Right. And so I think we think about that, right? And remember, right, if ifs were fifths, right? That's another thing that we're saying here, right? Again, if ifs were fifths, guys, like, yeah, he made that shot tonight, but outstretched Brook, you're probably not seeing that happen again. But look, it is what it is.
Look, I'll go ahead and say you have to foul there, because if you rewatch the play, right, under 4 seconds to go, Caruso comes off of the screen. He's not even squared to the basket. Brook has an opportunity to just chase him down and get a quick foul in, and then they might not even get a shot off on the inbound. So I think that's what I'm looking at here. Maybe it's not on Coach Griffin. Maybe it is on Brook to just situationally realize that if he's not squared up to the basket, go and put a hand on him and get a foul. So I do think you foul up 3. I agree. I think that was a coaching malpractice there. I don't think you just allow him to get a shot off.
Well, I think the jury's fit. I don't mind fouling up 3. I just, to me is, it doesn't matter what you do. Whatever you do is what you do. I don't think Brook can. I don't think Brook can. I do disagree. I don't think Brook can on his own make the decision. I'm gonna foul.
It is a split-second decision. Yeah,
I
know.
But I think the coach has got to tell you
if he's not square to the basket, like, that's a good.
But that's got to come in the timeout, right? Yeah. That Coach Griffin's gonna say, "Hey, we're fouling up 3. Figure it out now," and then you got to figure out a way to foul up 3 without him being in his shooting motion, right? And that's up to the players. But I don't think that I don't think if Griff says we're not fouling up 3, Dr. Griffin says we're not fouling up 3. Doctor's orders, we're gonna take what the doctor gives.
But like, there's no way you would think there's no way that all those guys did not know that they had a foul to give.
That's your good point. Now that's the point. Yes. You absolutely. If that's correct, and somebody in the comments let me know if that is correct. If you did have a foul to give, which I believe they did, that's where I have a problem. Yeah, that's 100% you foul. I agree with you.
And I'm not sure that you're not communicating that if you're on the floor. Hey, we got a foul to give. Everybody know that. And you're not literally doing the little league thing where you're literally just saying, guys, we got a foul to give, and repeating that left and right before that ball gets inbounded. Like, I'm assuming that's what would happen, is players would be communicating about that.
This is what I think it's a prime situation to foul up 3, because there's not a situation where the Bucks can get to the free throw line after Chicago makes 2 and then miss. There was 3 seconds left in the game. It wasn't like there was 10. It wasn't 15. So I think that's a part of the reason why you have to foul up 3, because you don't even give Chicago a chance to win that ball game, I don't think.
That's the only thing. There is always a risk, especially with a low IQ basketball team. And you talk about Brook Lopez doing it. He is a sloth out there. You see how slow he moves. I have zero faith that Brook Lopez could easily commit a foul without Caruso getting into his shooting motion and getting 3 free throws.
As soon as the ball hits the ground, somebody has to foul right there. As soon as the ball hits the ground. Because they're not catching and shooting it. So now you foul when the ball hits the ground, I think.
Well, wrap that man up. Go hug him. Go hug him. You got to do something.
Well, they did not do that. They lose the game 120-113 to the Chicago Bulls. Still coming in with some of your comments. C.I. Ungumbi says, what are due respect? How do you lose to a Chicago Bulls team without Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan? You should have put your foots on their necks. Do not take your opponents for granted. I don't disagree with that. You should have won. But when you say, how do you lose to a team without Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan? Well, they just beat the Chicago team like a week ago with Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. It's not like they can't do it. Again, this is an example of playing down to your competition a little bit, and that kind of is what it is. And then it says Chris Middleton should not have got shut down by Alex Caruso. He's a great defender and all, but come on. On Chris, I think Chris shuts himself down sometimes. It's one of those things where, in my opinion, sometimes his knee looks good and sometimes he's fine. And sometimes you get a Chris Middleton that looks like he's cooked. He looks like a washed product. And tonight he was a washed product. He didn't look good at all. Going to some of the Twitter comments, He Manson said the Bucks have looked mediocre against mediocre teams. They bring no juice often, and tonight it bit him in the ass. Effort sucked. Dame looked completely disinterested. And if you didn't know any better, you would have thought he was intentionally throwing the game. He was that bad. It was that unlike his personality. This may be a situation where the loss accomplishes more because they need to start playing 48-minute games. And let's sit there for a second. The Bucks do need to play 48-minute games. They do need to. Again, criticism is fine of the Milwaukee Bucks, of Coach Agent Griffin, Dr. Griffin tonight. Criticism's fine. I just don't want to get into that crazy land. But yes, I think people understand that they need to play better throughout the course of a basketball game. They haven't done that as of yet, and they keep finding themselves in these situations. Again, tonight, the majority of the time, if you give 103 points, well, they gave 106, but you give 106 points, you're more than likely going to win the basketball game. The offense just, to me, wasn't there throughout. And they missed a lot of shots until the fourth quarter came, and then in overtime, again, you're waiting on. I didn't tweet out once tonight Dame time because you're waiting on Dame time, and Dame time never came.
No, right. Tap that watch, and I found out I needed a new battery. Right, it just wasn't happening. Kept tapping that watch. I was doing that. I'm literally watching the camera, tapping again. I got a cold. tapping. It's like y'all ever see them touch screens at the bank? You go to the ATM and you try to hit and you like, damn, I gotta hit this thing like 3-4 times to get it right. It's kind of like that. But listen, I will and piggybacking on what you're saying, there is a difference between giving constructive criticism or what we call in the professional world tactical feedback, right? And then calling for someone to lose their job.
Feedback. I like that.
Feedback, right?
Like
yes, right. So, yeah, 100%. I think there are things that you can criticize Adrian Griffin for, Dr. Adrian Griffin for. But calling for his job, it's just like, come on, man. And those people are out tonight, by the way.
Oh, they're out.
They're out tonight.
Robert Henry said, would you put heat on Griffin and say things don't improve, you're fired, then maybe promote Vin Baker? If you didn't like Adrian Griffin, why the hell would you like Vin Baker at the end? What are we talking about?
What does that accomplish?
That's
what I'm saying. What does that accomplish though, right? Like if you go promote, if you go put Vin, okay, yeah, hey, you run the show in the middle of everything. Yeah, you go ahead and see if you can land the plane.
What I don't understand is this is his first year as a head coach. How are people ready to already pull the plug on what 16, 17 games or whatever, 18 games? Come on now.
And again, tonight was the worst loss of the season. I'll give him that, but it's November. I'm not firing anybody before Christmas, right. Man. It's not Christmas. Why am I worried? Yeah, you're gonna have it. Should the Boston Celtics fire Joe Mazzulla because they lost to Charlotte a couple nights ago? No, it doesn't make sense. D Cole 123 says, as of right now, I'm not super high on Griff as I once was. I'm not giving up on him, but to get to the point, if this season doesn't end with a championship, do you think his job would be on the line? So I will. If the season doesn't end with a championship, is his job on the line? It depends on. I will say this. It depends on what it looks like. If it looks like Mike Budenholzer and you don't get out the first round, absolutely. You're going to see that door. You're going to see that door. You don't get out the first round. The doors, and I will lead the crusade to get the Adrian Griffin, Dr. Griffin out of town if you don't get out the first round. But past that, if you lose to a Knicks team, I think there's going to be a lot of heat, a lot of pressure on you. But, I mean, if you're playing Philly, Boston, and it's a great, 7-game series, knockout, drag-out fight, and you just aren't severely out-coached as being the reason. If the reason you lose, I'll say this. If the reason you lose a series is because you got out-coached, then that's going to – then the heat is going to be up. He has – again, I think he has at most – I think he has – again, I'm not going to say that. I won't say that. I will say that, yes, if you don't get past the first round, then we're talking – or if you lose to a mediocre team like the Knicks, Cleveland – somebody like that, then we're talking. But again, we're way too far out to even discuss that. That's not in my mind at all.
I say provided that you don't have palpable deficiencies. And what I mean by that is let's say Giannis is injured. Let's say Dame is injured. Let's say, let's say you have guys that are not available there.
Listen, I don't know if you're going to get away with Giannis and Dame. I can't play the injuries. If Chris Middleton's hurt, you just going to have the ball.
Listen,
I'm sorry.
Listen, there's no okay. So I'll rephrase. Let me say this: palpable injuries past the first round, right? There's no reason why this Bucks team, even if Giannis or Dame are not available, do not make it out of that first round. That doesn't make any sense, right? But I'm saying if you lose in the second round because you have some key injuries or something there, right? You may get another shot at this thing. To me, I think the expectation is deep run in the Eastern Conference Finals, right? Like you can't tell a guy, okay, it's your first year on the job. The expectation is you win a championship or you're fired, right? I think that I mean, guys, this is the NBA. I get it, but come on, like that's that. I think that's unreasonable. Having said that, Adrian Griffin took this job knowing that Bud had won a championship a few years ago in 2021, and then turned around and effectively regressed, right? Lost in the second round the next year, then lost in the first round the year after that. And so he saw that. So you have to know that's the expectation. But yeah, I'm gonna say right now, if there's not a deep run, right, at least make it 6 games in that Eastern Conference Final. I do think that, provided there are not what I call palpable deficiencies, I think he's cooked.
Chris, I want you to weigh in, but I do want to Tony World makes the point. Mike Budenholzer made the finals one time. So it's not so it would be tough to say that like that's the standard is you got to get to the finals in year one, and the coach you fired made it once. So I agree with that.
Well, Bucks Twitter expects us to go 73-9 and championship, no game 6 in the playoffs or nothing.
Hey, not no game. You got to blow out everybody. I was about to say if the Bucks won a title and they didn't blow out whoever they played, I guarantee you somebody should they fire him going into next year? I don't know. Come on, man.
Well, I also think like it's too early to even make any conclusions and look that far into the season because you don't even have Jay Crowder back. You don't know what kind of moves the Bucks are going to make at the deadline or what kind of reinforcements they're going to bring in. So it's too early to even think about that right now and without the team you're going to be playing with in the playoffs.
I 100% agree with that. Charles says, why are we still talking about Budenholzer? Griffin's doing a great job. Give the man time. Damn. Hey, Charles, I'm with you. I hate it too.
Charles, the voice of reason.
I don't like talking about it either. I don't like it either. What'd you say?
I said Charles is the voice of reason. Here we go, the voice of reason for Bucks Twitter.
Absolutely. I totally agree with Charles. I don't want to talk about it. Again, people that's for whatever reason that's what people want to talk about. We'll talk about what people want to talk about. At BB Prospector says Dame having 1 point in the second half hurts, but he was facilitating again, but he had 7 turnovers. Michael Bradley says we need a team manager whose only job is to tell the team to do things like use a take foul when you're up 3 in the bonus with 5 seconds left. So yeah, if you're saying again, if Michael Bradley's correct, and I think he was, you had to take foul. I will agree with that. Should have used the take foul. Miss Witt versus Whitney says Chicago was super shorthanded and definitely wanted to make a point. I-94 games are always tough. And gimme _A_Buck says Bucks lost. Yeah, okay, just get me to and through the playoffs healthy. That's all I ask. Let's get to this Giannis and Dame thing. Again, as the Bucks lose 120-113 to the Chicago Bulls. Again, it was the tale of two head Jekyll and Mr. Jekyll and Dr. Hyde, for both of these guys. Giannis was down in the first half. Dame was up in the first half. Dame was down in the second half in overtime. Giannis was up in the second half. And again, he goes, and I think the other thing that really hurt, you talk about the minutes limit, Chris Middleton not being on the floor in overtime, I think really hurt. I'm glad he did play 27 minutes. So you saw an uptick there. Again, he didn't play well, but he did. I think he had to hit a clutch bucket late in the game. In the fourth quarter, but he couldn't extend that over to overtime. Bobby Portis was bad. Well, we'll get to the bench in a second. But again, I guess I ask you guys, what did you see? Why was it that Giannis Antetokounmpo couldn't perform in the first half? I'm going to give a lot of that to foul trouble. But I thought it was the more interesting thing to me was Dame Lillard. Not only did he just not play well, but he was passive in the second half and overtime. That's my bigger concern. I hate when Dame Lillard's passive. He's got to be the engine offensively. Like the Bucks made enough plays. Like, did they play well throughout the game? No. Did they make enough plays to win the game? Absolutely. And the only thing that they missed going down the stretch, like we said, we talked about it, we didn't see Dame. That was what was missed. That was the missing factor. All of these games have played out the same. What we missed tonight was Damian Lillard doing his thing late in the game. If Damian Lillard does anything late in that basketball game, the Bucks win the game with it. They probably win about 6-7 points. And you're like, wow, okay. We're talking about concerns, but we're at least talking about concerns after Milwaukee Bucks victory.
Yeah, I right there with you. One thing I'll say about Dame that's a little weird to me though is that it doesn't seem like he still is comfortable putting this team on his back until there's about 7 minutes left in that fourth quarter. And it's really kind of weird because you're right. That second half, he had plenty of opportunities to do it, but and I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe he wanted to get his teammates involved. Maybe he just wanted to get guys going, wanted to lift their spirits, right? Maybe he's that type of leader. I'm not really sure, but this is something that does bear watching. Keep in mind, we're about 20 games in here, and there's a chance that this can completely change 50 games in, right? But right now, from looking at this, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's just trying to like appease teammates or like if he's trying to do. If he's trying to be that facilitator or is he trying to be like that leader who trying to lead in a different way, I don't know. But I did think Dame had some looks tonight that he did not take, and I was a little puzzled as to why.
Yeah, I'll talk about Dame in the second half. I mean, you have to credit Chicago's guards and defenders a little bit. I think they ran it. They kind of got him uncomfortable, got under his skin a little bit, ran him off the 3-point line, chasing him around the court, going off the screens, and Javon Carter, they forced 7 turnovers from Dame, so I think that was a big part of it. And hopefully he just didn't lose confidence down the stretch. And if that's the case, he's got to pick that up.
Yeah, I don't know if it potentially could have been a confidence thing. Yeah, he just didn't play well. And to your point, JT, I agree with you to an extent. I thought that in the second half, he did look to get Giannis more involved because of how Giannis looked in that first half. And wanted to make sure Giannis was rolling. And to Giannis' credit, Giannis answered that call and accepted the challenge and was rolling. But, you got to take back the reins when that thing gets shaky in the fourth quarter. Like that to me is if there's something like when you talk about the Bucks don't have an identity and, maybe they don't, and, but the Bucks do have an identity, when you're looking in the fourth quarter and overtime. Well, and at least fourth quarter, to me, the Bucks do have an identity, and it's Damian Lillard going Dame, and everybody else getting in where they fit in. And tonight, that didn't happen, and so he's got to be able to take the reins back and say, "Hey, I'm controlling this thing. I'm driving the car." And again, that's what I want to see in the fourth quarter, especially is Damian Lillard do that. He didn't do it tonight, and I think that was what ultimately resulted in the Milwaukee Bucks taking a loss.
Yeah, but again. I don't want to sound like a broken record. Still early. And somebody said it earlier. You can learn a little bit more from a loss than some of these wins too. So they'll clean it up. I'm confident. But no means I do want to talk about the bench, but I'm gonna go ahead and let you facilitate that conversation.
Well, let's get to the next topic. We'll talk about being concerned, and maybe we won't belabor the point here. Are you concerned? Did tonight bring out any more concerns for this basketball team in a loss than you've seen from how they've played when they've won these same type of games against inferior opponents? Did tonight make you pause and say, something's not right?
So I think for me, it didn't make me pause, but I do worry. Not so much. I'm looking at stuff. The way I'm seeing it is a 7-game series, right? I'm looking at it from, okay, what trends are we developing? What is most likely to happen in the 7-game series in the playoffs? That's what I'm looking at. I don't really care that much about these regular season games, especially any regular season game in 2023, right? Because it's so early and there's some one-offs here. But I will say that one thing I'm concerned about is our bench depth. Man, listen, I love the signing of campaign, and I get it. And I mean, he was okay tonight, right? 2 for 6, 3 for 8, played 12 minutes, didn't play much, but we are thin. And one thing that I think we're missing is impact of Bobby Portis. Man, I don't know. The Bobby Portis that we've seen over the last 4 years is not there. Like, this is not. He looks. Is he cooked? Is he washed? I don't know what it is, but this team. Here's the thing, right? The last 4 years, we've seen this team consistently get double-double from Bobby Portis off the bench. And we've seen not just that, but impact plays, right? Bobby Portis is the one starting the runs. Bobby Portis is that momentum builder for this team. And right now, he looked like the thrill is gone. Seriously, Bobby Portis. I was talking to Chris, and I said, man, people were saying, well, we trade Bobby. Is Bobby's trade value diminishing at this point? And when you really start looking at this, if this keeps up 10, 15 more games, are we looking at a situation where, we could trade Bobby, but I don't know what we can get for him?
No, I still think Bobby's going to have some value because I think you're going to look at the body of work from Bobby Portis. You're going to say, hey, he can hit threes. He can get to his spot. He can get a little post up game going, shoot the ball, and he can provide that spark, that energy. He's done it. He's a world champion. So I don't think he's cooked as far as number one. I don't think he's cooked. I also don't think his trade value is like, oh, well, you can't get anything for him. So I think he's on a very reasonable deal as well. I think the issue is has he worn out just like Mike Budenholzer? Have you worn out your welcome here? Have you gone stale here? Because again, that's one of the things I've always thought. The only thing about the Bobby Portis thing where it's like, oh, he's so much energy and he's great for this and that. All right, well, get your butt down in a defensive stance and slide your damn feet. If you want everybody to talk about like all this, you're this guy, I'm this, yeah, you ain't gonna do nothing to me. Then challenge somebody at the rim. Because I've never that's the other thing. I've never seen an enforcer, and Bobby Portis is an enforcer. I've never seen an enforcer let people just lay the ball up all over him. That he's the only enforcer in the league who's think about your enforcers, John. Draymond Green playing defense. Marcus Smart playing defense. I don't know if you call him an enforcer, but just your Dylan Brooks is your enforcers aren't guys who don't give a damn about. Oh, I'm just letting it go. Okay, you're coming to the back. Oh, don't hit me. I've never. He's the only enforcer in the league who don't want to challenge himself defensively, and that's my thing on Bobby Portis is you got to find a way. And I talked about this with you before, JT. I think on your T's and Q's where there's issues. There've been guys in the NBA, and Agent Griffin, Dr. Griffin had to sit Bobby Portis down and say, hey, if you're not making shots, are you unable to play basketball? Do I need to put you in? And if I see automatically that you're not hitting shots, do you have to sit down? Because that's what keeps Giannis. That's what keeps guys like Giannis on the floor. That's what keeps guys even like Pat Connaughton on the floor when he's playing. Jay Crowder is even if my shot's not falling, I'm gonna find a way to impact. I'm gonna get an impact. PJ Tucker. I'm gonna find a way to get a rebound here. I'm gonna find a way to. I'm gonna get a defense. I'm gonna make a stop here. If you're not gonna play, if you only gonna play defense when your shot's falling, then when it's not, maybe you got to come sit with me. And so I think that's something that you really got to ask yourself if you're Bobby Portis. You got to ask yourself if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, what is it? Because if you're not hitting shots, you're of no value to me. Why do I need to put you in the games if that's not going down? Because that's right now, when you talk about the value being diminished, right now, yes, if Bobby Portis is not hitting open shots and making plays on the offensive end, he is of no value to anybody because he's not putting in the effort over these last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games.
And defensively. And my thing again, right? And I don't want to. We're 20 games in. I probably shouldn't be looking to the playoffs. But the thing is what's been our problem with Bobby Portis here? It's that you get this impact of him. He has this roll off the bench. Then you get to the playoffs, and then all of a sudden he can't play. He's just a guy. He on the bench without a jersey on. He a jag. He just a guy. He on the bench without a jersey on underneath, right? So you don't have him when you need him the most because of these deficiencies. And I was inspired earlier in the season when I saw it looked like his defensive effort improved. He seemed like, okay, maybe this is going to work for him. But now, I don't like the headband energy. I never liked the headband energy, and I got used to it because Bobby was a fun player to watch. But man, take the headband off, get rid of the waves. Let's go. Shade the head, do something. You got to do something, man. Go the beard out. Got to do something because right now, I'm seeing the sporting wave energy, and that's cool. But either play in the do rag or take off the headband. Come on, give me a little bit more grit.
I honestly don't think it's just Bobby either. I think there's a couple of guys down the line that just maybe don't have the same impact that we're used to seeing them have. Pat, just he doesn't pose that threat anymore that normally he would, and normally he was a couple of years ago when they ended up winning the finals. So it's stuff like that. Just you want to see them play more inspired basketball. But honestly, I'm not concerned. It's 20 games in.
Since we're talking about the Bucks bench right now, let me give you another guy who stunk, who I'm starting to have a lot of questions about. Is the experiment over with Marjon Beauchamp? Because he out there, he looked here's the thing. He doesn't just look like a young player that's trying to find, like Andre Jackson Jr., like a young player finding his way, making impact, doing some things. And, he don't have it all put together, but he's a raw talent that's, okay, I see what you're doing, Ajax. MarJon looked like he don't really understand the fundamentals of basketball. Like, I call Giannis low IQ, but it's like relative to like high. Like, I know Giannis has a high basketball IQ, but it's relative to like Giannis isn't like a Joker or like a Luka or those LeBron. Like that's the kind of IQ I'm talking about when I say low IQ from Giannis. MarJon looked like he just started playing. It's like, dog, like how do you, there are things about MarJon defensively and offensively where I go, I just question, like like, you ever notice he don't jump off 1 foot? You ever notice that? Like it's something that simple. It's like he can't get a fast break going because every time he got to get to the back, because if this is a contested fast break, he gotta jump stop and get off 2 feet. He can't beat nobody to the back. It's like some weird stuff like that. It's like, what are you doing? He hit a couple shots every now and then, but that MarJon, like if there's a young guy I'm thinking about, and you're talking about like who's trade bait and what are you looking at? Yeah, I'm looking at MarJon saying, if I had to, I would be okay if I had to get rid of a MarJon to find an upgrade.
Yeah, I'm there. But like when we think about MarJon though, you know what bothers me about this conversation is when you think about MarJon, what do you think? Hope and optimism, right? But no, but like you think hope. The conversation about MarJon is either like, well, we hope, right, or optimistic, but what looks like he may, right, or we talk about the tools. That's exactly where the conversation goes. It goes in that. It's never about what he's done in his body of work, right? And it's kind of to the point to where it's noticeable when he does well, right? If that makes sense. Like it's noticeable when he actually has an impact. Like, oh yeah, hey, look, it's MarJon balling here. But the problem with that is that he's not reliable. And again, at some point, we need to start having reliability, especially off that bench. We got to know what we've got here. And I'm with you. Listen, if somebody wants Bobby and MarJon, fine, let them have it.
Oh, I say this all the time about the G League Ignite and what that experience has been like for guys that have came in the league, and they haven't been good. I've never really been too high on MarJon. I think the inconsistencies are greater than the consistencies. So, people get hyped up about what he does in the offseason, what he's able to do in Summer League and put up 80 whatever points in the Tacoma, Seattle, the Jamal crossover.
Jay crossover.
Yeah, shout out crossover. But anyway, I think people overreact to off-season stuff, and they think this guy has all this potential. But what is this year? What? How many years has he been in the league?
I think this is year 3 of MarJon.
Or
is year 2? It's year 2.
Yeah, it's year 2. But still, like, he was out there getting cooked by Marcus Sasser in the Pistons game on the defensive end. Well, I thought he was a defensive stopper, and he's out there losing the ball in fast breaks. Like, he doesn't even look like he can handle it at all. So it's tough with MarJon. I'm going to give him a little more time, obviously, but this is, I'd rather have Andre Jackson out there at this point.
Yeah, it was a 120-113 loss to the Chicago Bulls. Just listening to some comments. Kyle and Racine says at the beginning of the season, they don't care. They'll be in the playoffs. That's all that matters. And Warren jumps in and disagrees, said he thought the regular season does matter. This time is used to form good habits and get a decent seed so you don't have to start out on the road every series. But here's it again. That's where we're like the concerns are like we start talking about things that like don't exist. Like why are we talking about the Bucks like they're going to be the 7th seed and they're going to start off on the road? Like even tonight with the 13-6 record, they're a game and a half out of first. They're a game and a half out of first in the East, and we're talking about are they going to start off on the road every series? Like come on, like let's be serious. Like, do you think the Orlando? And then again, I give the Orlando Magic a lot of credit. They're 13-5 right now. They've won 8 games in a row. I don't think the Orlando Magic are going to be the 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference when this thing is all said and done. They're not going to be there. So, some of these things are, you just got to wait and let these things play out. That's just how, that's just how it is.
Pull on Leslie from the Rams and just go F them picks. Like I'm so done with our first round draft picks. I'm so done with the Bucks first round draft picks. Like I do not. Listen, we're going to be picking late.
What first round picks are you talking about?
Think about the Bucks first round picks since 2017. Who's been worth a damn?
Well, I'm asking what picks did they have
DJ
in
Wilson.
those? Oh, we talking about
Dante DiVincenzo, ass, right?
Okay.
I mean, yeah, we traded Kevin Porter, so okay, fine, right?
We traded RJ Hampton too, but
and we traded RJ Hampton, right? Even Jordan Nora, who was a second-round pick, he went for ass.
But yeah, you talking second round? Yeah,
Trash, right?
Well, we're talking about guys in the back rounds.
Right.
Again, yes, but I think those are different iterations of Bucks teams. Yes, if you're not drafting in the top, if you're not drafting in the top 15 of those rounds, yeah, it's a crapshoot on the back end of stuff. I think that's kind of how it goes. But I'll agree with you to an extent on.
We're not going to draft and develop anybody. That's all I'm saying. Like, look, listen, right? We got hope for Andre Jackson Jr., and I hope that works out.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going to happen.
He's a back second-round pick. Yeah, that's the type of guy you're getting.
Livingston, we'll see.
Back
right?
second-round pick, last pick of the draft.
Right. What the hell's the point, man?
In there. Hey,
yeah, okay, great, right?
Started for the Trailblazers.
Wonderful, right? And that's great. That's not who we get. No, we're not getting true gems, right? So, like, yes, I'm just so done with the drafting and development of this team in the last, let's call it 6-7 seasons. I'm like, no, the hell with it. Listen, just let that now. On the same note, Horst is great at trades. He is great at trade. He has done a tremendous job at free agent acquisitions and trades. So that's kind of our bread and butter. But can we just be done with these random dudes who we can just trade the pick. If we end up with a pick,
we're basically drafting the Wisconsin herd at this point. I think.
Thank you. That's my entire point.
That's what you're doing. There's no they haven't hit on one.
No, and
it doesn't matter. There's 60 picks in the draft. Like, it's not some NFL. They're not throwaways in the second round. So that's why I'm confused.
Yeah, I just feel like you're not
second
getting
round guys. Are we talking about that? Like, I'm talking okay. All right. So yeah, I'll agree. Where was Marjan picked?
15. What was he? Marjan was 24th overall.
24th. So back in first round guy. Okay. Yeah, I think these are not sure. Again, I'll agree on the John Horst. But it is much tougher to when you're drafting at those spots than drafting, in the top half of the draft. So, I look at we haven't
had a good backup point guard outside of maybe it's for a long time, and that's where you get good point guards is the NBA draft. And
here's my point.
Well, again, but again, the Bucks and all things, the Bucks traded away a lot of those draft picks. You ask why are they drafting second round back end guys? That they got a championship because they gave away their picks to get Drew Holiday.
Listen, I agree with that, and I understand that, and that to me looks like a risk that paid off. That needs to continue to be your strategy because the idea of drafting and developing is lofty. Boy, we got high hopes, right? Like we got real high hopes for that, but that's just not going to happen with this team. At least it didn't happen we're still seeing under Dr. Griffin, but it didn't happen under. So my point is that we cannot rely on these dudes, man. We cannot rely on the players that we draft to have the impact that we're at least anticipating. It's not going to happen.
I don't know. I slightly disagree with some of that. I think that I agree that the draft picks have not always panned out. I had more of an issue years past. We're talking about that's one of the things that years past when you needed those draft picks to play well. I'm thinking of I can't remember buddy from UNLV who the Bucks picked in 2015. I'm thinking of years past of those draft guys that we missed on. Not as much, the current iteration of the Bucks.
I'm talking last 5 years. Listen, we cannot rely on draft picks. That's my whole point. And like Chris said, we're drafting
again in the last 5 years. Okay, but in the last couple of years, you haven't had first round pick. You've been picking at the end of the first round.
Okay, but that's still a first round.
Those are the type of guys you're going to get. Bunch of guys that it's going to take them a while to develop.
So what is the point?
The point is that so I'll give you the point.
None of them have been developed though.
That's my point, right? Exactly. At some point, we just got to be honest.
But they weren't there. What guys are we talking? Are you talking about? Dante DiVincenzo's not bad. I don't think he's a bad. For where he got drafted, I don't think he's a bad player.
He's the reason they won the championship, I think.
Because he was out. Yes, but yes, you're talking about guys on most guys getting drafted to championship teams aren't super impactful in years 1 and 2. Again, a lot of times because those teams are good and they're not picking early, right? Like that. I'll agree on
So
some
what
of that.
is the point? Again, this is my thing.
You don't, but
If
you
you're
don't, but
picking,
John, you don't have any picks. So like I'm talking about like last year,
you do
you didn't
have
have, you had back end guys. No, you're not doing anything with the second round picks. Like what are you doing with them?
trade them. Trade them.
Or
We traded
John
a shitload of picks for Crowder. We traded a buttload of picks for Crowder.
Well, yeah,
you take 5 second round picks.
You have, but again, then you start to look very old and you start to look very slow.
Good, because the young new talent is unreliable and stinks. Look, I'd rather take experienced legs that I can rely on than youthful legs that are trash. Trash.
Or at least
I just don't know
the good
the value
ones.
there.
Don't take what I think they try to do is their draft style is so bad. They try to get these projects. Look, Andre Jackson Jr., a known non-3-point shooter anyway. That's a clear project. Then
that's
Marjon
the projects
Beauchamp,
you're getting, picking 45th and 50th. That's your 50th pick is going to be a project.
Well,
you're not getting
Beauchamp is a
first
round draft pick. No, Marjon Beauchamp is a
first
round draft pick, and he's a project as well. Coming from a place that had Jalen Green and Jonathan Kuminga. Like, are we serious right now? He was probably like the third guy drafted out of G League Ignite. That's a project. And what does he really offer? How do you see him having a career in the NBA as a guy, a top 3 option on a team? No. So I don't understand what they saw in him or what the potential was in him. And it's not just him either. DJ Wilson is another guy like that. It's bad. I think that they're looking at the wrong stuff.
We're off the rails here at this point, guys. We've gone.
I don't know. I mean, that's just like I don't know. It's just very old guys that we're talking about here.
Yes, you know what? Give me the age. Give me old guys. I want guys who got to ice them knees every night versus these guys that we keep relying on. Okay, I'm gonna stop.
But we relying on? But who's relying on Marjon Beauchamp? That's
we are 100% relying on Marjon Beauchamp. Are we
actually relying on these guys that we're? Yeah, we're drafting projects that we may need to use as like a 10th, 11th guy, and it'd be nice to use them. But it's not like we're like, oh, if we don't have Marjon Beauchamp, we're in trouble because we need him. Like, that's why
we rely on Marjon Beauchamp.
I mean, right now in the season, you do need in the regular season at this point, like you do need him to at least be productive and not be so bad, right? Like Jay Crowder goes down, that's another 3, 4. So you got to throw somebody in there and give somebody increased minutes. And if you're going to give it to the wrong guy, then what good does it do?
All right, I'm gonna stop talking on this so we can keep moving along the agenda.
We're gonna agree to disagree on the Bucks.
We ain't agreeing to nothing. We just moving on.
Yeah, we gotta go. Let's the Bucks lose 120-113 to the Chicago Bulls. Let's see if we have some more tweets coming in. Colin Racine says, "What is Johnny Flynn doing these days?"
Real estate? I don't know what Johnny Flynn doing.
Yeah, I don't know either what he's doing. Let me get to some comments. Let's see. Martin _Vela says they played careless. Saint of Freak says team too small with some rotations. Cannot rebound consistently. They were adding 28-46 disadvantage at one point. And again, it just shows you how good they got late into the basketball game. Not McCoy says GA ball hogging is a problem. Go watch the third and tell me it didn't kill the team / Dame's rhythm. Again, to me, I'm blaming Damian Lillard for that. You have the ball every time coming down the floor. If you choose to give it up, that's what you chose to do with the basketball. Like, and again, Giannis was cooking in the third. So don't tell me like, dog, like you be the igniter that you are. Like that's my thing about Damian Lillard. Be an igniter, go play some basketball. Like I get sick of people blaming Giannis for like as if he don't give the ball up. Like, dude, Damian Lillard, you have the ball. Go score. Go attack. Be aggressive. If you're gonna be passive, then I'm gonna need the guys that's aggressive to go to the basket. And again, the issue in the fourth quarter wasn't that got the problem was Damian Lillard wasn't aggressive. You have the ball, and I guess that's my thing is how many games do you need to watch and see of Damian Lillard going crazy in the fourth quarter before you? And then when he does it, you go, well, that's Giannis' fault. No, it ain't. Nobody stops him ever. Like what game have you seen where Giannis or Chris or somebody has like stopped Damian Lillard from going crazy? That's not a thing. I get frustrated when people say that's never been a thing. He's got to choose to do that, and for the majority of the time he does. So when he does it, you can't. Well, it was Giannis' fault. No, it's not. I don't get that. Carl Phenom says, "In the Coach Griff experiment, please."
That's crazy.
Carl
That's
Trippin.
crazy.
Carl Trippin.
No,
Carl been waiting to get that off. He's been waiting for the Bucks to lose again to get that.
Here you guys go. Ellis is ready. Says John Horst still hasn't drafted a good young rotation player like every other team.
Thank you, Ellis. Thank you. Okay, so at least Ellis can stream games and is watching the same game that I'm watching here. Thank you, Ellis.
And then Proma True says, "I'm gonna stop watching the Bucks for a couple months. Can't stay up all night for them to play like complete shit all game. Might start watching when they actually figure out that you're allowed to try more than 5 minutes into the fourth." Yeah, okay, here's what it is.
I mean, a lot of Bucks fans aren't watching right now anyway till after the New Year, so
people want to get there, want to make sure they keep their heart rate up. So they're not trying to
get steps in during the game.
Again, you pacing during the game. You start watching tape. Let's. So again, the Bucks lose. So we'll do one more reset. Let everybody get final words in on the Bucks and Bulls tonight. It was a 120-113 loss to the Chicago Bulls. JT, Chris, what you got to close off a disappointing loss to the Chicago Bulls? I'm not upset. These things happen. It was disappointing. How do you guys feel about it? Final thoughts.
Look, honestly, this is going to happen, right? You fall asleep during the game and you have a strong fourth. Sometimes it's not going to be enough. Most of the time, it will be enough. What we've seen this year, most of the time, it certainly is enough. But, this is going to happen. We're going to learn from this loss and move on. The sky's not falling. It's a very, very, very long season, guys. And we're coming up on, 20% of the way through, right? What's that? Yeah, we're getting there. But yeah, sky's not falling. I don't really think this is that big of a deal. I expect the Bucks to bounce back. Oh well.
I'll call it a very preventable loss as well. I think you just take care of a couple more things and foul up 3. I think you win that game. And, it is the NBA. Things like this happen. Games like this will happen. Sky's not falling. Calling for AG's head is crazy, I think. And jumping to conclusions about this team off of one game that, Chicago is not even – their roster construction is good, at least. I'll say that. They suck this year, but they got some guys. And if they play like how they did with Vucevic going for 26, 10, and 6, it can happen at any given night. And they played at home too. Like, this will happen in the NBA. It's not like the sky is falling either. Like, I think the Bucks will be all right.
One more question before we end the Bucks stuff. Not a single Dame Giannis pick and roll was run by the Bucks in overtime. Strange. I'm just looking at Twitter. Strange coach. This is Kevin O'Connor, who also is a Dr. Griffin hater. He says again, not a single Dame Giannis pick and roll run the Bucks overtime. Strange coaching decisions. What do you think? What do you think about that when you're looking again? And people thought that the Giannis Dame pick and roll was like going to be a thing, and I will say that has been kind of head scratch that the Bucks don't. They don't seem to run a ton of Dame Giannis pick and rolls. That it is interesting.
I chalk that up to maybe the team is just not. I don't have an explanation for why we're not running more pick and rolls. I thought that was going to be our bread and butter. You've seen it in spots, but yeah, that just doesn't seem to be one of our default offensive concepts, and I don't have an explanation for that.
Maybe it's on them two guys. Maybe they haven't totally gotten comfortable with it yet, and they're maybe that's a situation where you get into overtime and you kind of just tell your guys to go out there and hoop, and if they're not going to go run that, then so be it. And it ended up hurting them, I guess. But we should hopefully down the stretch towards the season we'll see more of that.
Okay. I don't have an answer for it either. I do think that that should be run more. But again, I think now that you want to blame Giannis for something, Giannis does need to roll harder on his screens. He needs to work on setting screens and rolling harder. I blame him for that kind of stuff. I'm not going to blame him because Dame decides to pass the ball every time he goes down the floor. Let's look at some finals from around the league. The Warriors in the fourth quarter right now. The Clippers 89-82. The Trailblazers. Oh, look at that. Oh man, maybe the Cleveland Cavaliers should fire. Maybe the Cavaliers should fire Bickerstaff because they lost 103-95 to the Portland Trailblazers. Oh my God! Remember the Bucks beat the Trailblazers, and it was the end of the world because they had to come back from that. But look, the Trailblazers won the game. See how the NBA works, people. And the Cavaliers aren't a bad basketball team. They won. They got to the second round last year. And beat the no, they lost the Knicks. I lied. They lost. They should have won. They were decent though. They lost the Knicks. 118-112. The Knicks beat the Pistons. Speaking of the Knicks, the Heat give up 132 to the Pacers, but they defeat them 142-132. The Hornets get back in the winning column 129-128 over the Brooklyn Nets. The Atlanta Hawks, after a big night from Trae Young, 137-135 over the Spurs. Talk about coaching. Greg Popovich, maybe he needs to be fired. 3-15. The Spurs, listen. San Antonio Spurs should not be 3-15. They should not be 3-15. They're not a great team. They should not be 3-15 when you got the demigod over there. What's my man's name? Victor Wembanyama. Lakers lose 133-110 to the Thunder, and the Timberwolves defeat the Jazz 101-90. Bulls beat the Bucks, of course, 120-113. Only other thing that there is left to talk about is your boy JT.
Who's that?
Ryan Shazier.
Ryan Shazier. Oh, Ryan Shazier.
What's up, my man? What's up, my man?
Got to be more careful.
Got to blow off some steam.
Be more careful.
He's in Columbus blowing off some steam.
Oh, man. Ryan Shazier. My thing is like, so we all know that story, right? Where Ryan Shazier, who's an All-American first-round draft pick, 2-time Pro Bowler for the Steelers, balled out. And then he had that very, very devastating injury on field. And really, this is kind of before DeMar Hamlin, right? Like that was Ryan Shazier when he was, I think it was like partially paralyzed for a little while too. And we literally watched his journey of him learning how to walk again. And he actually, it was kind of refreshing, right? You saw him heal and get ready. He was trying to play football again. Obviously, I don't know if the doctors cleared him. And you just saw all that. And I guess he was married during that time, or he got married in 2019 to his wife. And, and Trey can probably attest to this. Yeah.
Man, that was a mistake.
And it's all over Twitter and TMZ where he was just, his wife came at him for cheating and released some DMs that she found. It looks like she found them on a laptop. And I don't know if she took screenshots.
I think it was on there. He wasn't trying to hide nothing.
Yeah, and he was messaging on the laptop, and so he's actually messaging a lawyer out of Cleveland. Apparently, like she said, lawyer or whatever she was doing, a lawyer out of Columbus, and some spicy messages there, and some very interesting pictures. Yeah, that was kind of weird. Like the 2 books that he sent her, it was like, y'all should look at that, man.
Yeah, look it up. If you haven't seen it, look it up. But yeah, I just wanted to break it down. Talk about little Ryan Shazier.
So apparently he can walk. Apparently he walked. Got his mobility back.
Hey, he's walking.
Oh, he's walking all right. But yeah,
he's standing tall.
Man, right? Like hey, you know what? I feel bad for his wife. I really do, because she was with him
too.
Stuck through him.
His wife looks
right.
good.
Well. Yeah, but so does the girl he was cheating with, right? Like, I mean,
no, but
so does the girl
that's
he
cool
was
though, because then now I can slide in. So
okay, there you go. There you go. All for you.
Okay.
So
man,
see back in the market. That's it.
Last time, the only other thing I'll get to, you saw the Von Miller issue came out where he had turned himself in for apparently domestic violence issue. And the only other thing I did want to mention before we wrap this thing up is, the Josh Giddey situation still going through the investigation phase, and and he's still playing basketball. The only thing I think is interesting, as John gets his dishwasher. But the only thing
my dishes are clean, okay? Y'all got jokes? Yeah, my dishes are clean, right? Yeah, everybody, right. Y'all got the Samsung dishwasher too.
The only thing that I question, the coverage of how some issues or some allegations are covered by the media versus other allegations that are not covered by the media. And I don't know. I'm not gonna say why certain people are covered a certain way. I think now the one I didn't like is people trying to they're trying to make this almost like not John Morant, but Kyrie Irving. I don't think that was the comparison. The comparison to me that really makes more sense is Brandon Miller. That's the comparison I think that makes the most sense between how Josh Giddey has not been covered versus how the media treated Brandon Miller when he didn't really have allegations against him. The police said he wasn't even a suspect or anything like that. They called him a cooperating witness is what I believe the term was for Brandon Miller, and people were ready to put him under the jail before they heard he got a gun in the back seat. Put him under the jail. And so if you can show that level, if you can show the level of restraint for Josh Giddey and what he's been alleged of, and for the record, I agree. They should show that level of restraint. You got to do that for everybody. And that's my issue. It seems like sometimes we pick and choose in the media who we decide to vilify or who we think needs to sit out or who needs to be on like a leave while the investigation goes on versus I can't talk. I can't talk about this. I don't know anything about. Well, then don't know anything about anything else. If you can't talk about that, again, that's fine. I agree with you. Don't talk about other. Don't know. If you're not gonna know, then don't know about that either, because you don't know all the details that went on in that case either. So keep that level of knowledge that you don't have for everybody.
I would agree with that, and I think that like integrity and credibility go hand in hand, right? And I think that there is something to say about selective outrage, selective levels of zeal when you're going after someone, right? And you're digging into a story, especially when two people have done egregious things or been accused of doing egregious things or being linked to egregious events, right? But only one person seems to get that vitriol or to get that smoke from the media. Yeah, that's not a good look. That doesn't make any sense. This Josh Giddey story is quite bizarre, and I am a little surprised that some of your more prominent voices in sports media have kind of just taken a hands-off approach, as if they don't really know, so they're not forming an opinion publicly because they don't know and they don't have all the facts. When we've certainly seen some of our more famous members in sports media have all the opinions in the world when they know very little facts in different situations. Brandon Miller's situation was absolutely tragic, and this Josh Giddey situation sounds like this is getting really, really strange, especially because the last update I saw is the girl's family stopped cooperating. And typically you and I know, just with legal backgrounds, when somebody stops cooperating, what's that mean? That means that direct deposit hit. That's what that means. That means that, right. That means that direct deposit hit. That means them funds was in that account. And, and the question I do have to ask is, well, wait a minute. If they were paid, what's going on here? And it will be interesting to see, well, what does the NBA's investigation turn up? Because the NBA and the NFL and these leagues can investigate. They can get more facts than the police can because they're not government officials and they can pay. They can cut the check. They can cut the check. They can get you talking.
Yeah, real quick. I mean, I think it's just interesting how they did Brandon Miller when he was like guaranteed innocent. Like already, like within a couple of days after the situation happened, they already cleared his name. And then they bring it up later on, months later on draft night. Like it's so inconsistent in the media, and hopefully when I get there, that fixes, that changes. So
there you go. That's right.
Start calling your colleagues out, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Calling your colleagues 100%.
For
Out.
sure.
D Cole 123 says Malika Andrews is terrible.
Serious.
She needs to get all the smoke. And then Lumi says, we sound real Hotep light on this Josh Giddey situation. Lumi, I think you need to look up the definition of Hotep. Listen back to that entire conversation. And I listen back to that entire conversation and what we said and who I just brought up and why that doesn't apply. So I disagree with that. And then CV Good says Bucks are garbage. This must be this must be a Boston fan. He says, how you lost to the Bulls without their two best players? Look at us, we're getting trolls.
How'd you lose to the Hornets? Which are two best players?
Getting Dame made the Bucks so bad. Thanks for Drew, though. Is working great out here in Boston, and it's working so good. Again, you are living and dying, CV Good, by every Milwaukee Bucks game. And we out here talking about, again, we've already talked about this. We out here talking about Josh Giddey and Ryan Shazier. You're a game and a half up with 20 games in, and you were out here running victory laps like you at the daggone finals parade. We are totally. I'm telling you right now, Bucks delegation totally well. I can't speak for everybody because I think you do have some scared Bucks fans. They be crying at night. I'm not one of them. I do not care. We'll see you in the Eastern Conference Finals if y'all can make it.
Maybe, right? Like, yeah, if they can make
We'll
it,
be there.
We ain't worried
Where you
about
gonna
them. Like I'm telling you, we are not worried about Boston, and I can't wait for Boston
to
to
get the Drew tour dates, man. It'll,
right?
Wait till Drew's shooting
right.
2 for 14.
Drew shoot y'all out the game. Y'all gonna be pissed. Drew start shooting y'all out the game.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's about to happen.
Yeah, CV. D-Code 123 says, CV God, you're so scared of us, you watching the Bucks channel. Exactly. That's what I'm saying, man. What the Bucks do tonight? I promise I didn't ask what Boston did tonight. I don't even know did they play tonight?
I don't care. I'm not gonna even look. I don't care.
I don't know. Don't care.
What
don't matter
did.
to me. So good stuff, fellas. Bucks lose 120-113 tonight. Rough night for the Milwaukee Bucks. They will bounce back. We know they absolutely will. When are the Bucks in action again? Anybody know? Let me see. The Bucks are in action again. Oh, wow. They play, it says tomorrow for me, but that's actually going to be, Saturday? Bucks in action Saturday night against the Atlanta Hawks. So they're going to have an opportunity. It's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be a tough game because, against Atlanta, you're going to have to defend. And they're going to be in for a roller coaster if they aren't able to slow down Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, and those boys. And they got the rebound as well. So the Hawks are a hard-playing basketball team, well coached by Quinn Snyder. So they're going to have to do that. Okay, now, any final words before we get up out of here?
Nah, man. I'm good.
Dayton keeps winning, man. Keep it up.
There we go. Shout out to Ron Holmes. There is a 120-113 final in overtime. Bucks not able to pull it out. We appreciate you for watching the Cream City Crossover. Don't forget, this is a Cream City Media Group production. That's going to wrap it up for the Guru, Trey Crosby III.
JT.
Chris King.
Don't take no wooden nickels. Kurt.